Materia are upgradable pieces of equipment that grant Protagonist Zack here powerful new spells, abilities and insane stat buffs, but are they actually required in order to beat the game? Welcome to RPG Challenge Runs, and today we ask ourselves, can you beat crisiscore Final Fantasy VII without Materia? We're playing on a fresh save file on the hardest difficulty setting, and as always, no glitches, hacks, cheats, mods, etc. Let's do it.
It's showtime!
Activating combat mode.
To kick things off, let's have a quick look at what Zack is capable of doing without any Materia. We can do slash combos of up to 5, with slashes 3 and 5 being more powerful, but the 4th slash being very weak. We can roll to dodge, which is kinda stiff and awkward, and have a defensive guard stance that reduces incoming damage. Finally, we can lock onto and switch between specific targets. We're told to use our Materia to finish the fight, but thankfully this is optional and we can finish things off with regular slashes. But damn, enemies are tanky on hard mode.
Conflict resolved.
Oh yeah!
Seconds later, and we're up against this big boy and get introduced to the slot machine DMW that's constantly spinning away in the corner. Oh, how I just love a cheeky slice of gamba with my jrpg. Earning SP from defeating monsters keeps this bad boy going, and it can dish out anything from powerful limit breaks and temporary invincibility to literally sod all. To make matters worse, in this game you don't level up by hitting a certain XP threshold. Oh no, you just have to keep spinning the gacha machine until you hit a 777. For this entire challenge run, we will be at the mercy of RNGesus, so buckle up and keep all arms, feet and buster swords in the vehicle, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. With the brute defeated and Sephiroth at our back, we're saved by Buddy and Jill and get instructed to complete one of the many optional side quests. The game won't allow us to remove or destroy these automatically assigned starting materia yet, but after basic training involving slashing away at a few more waves of Shinra troops, we can finally unequip them, leaving us with just a single bronze bangle to our name. Chapter 1 officially begins and we're sent off to Wutai's Fort Tamblin. Initially, the enemies here seem agile but still quite weak, and then my heart sinks as we come across this. In this mandatory battle, we are forced to defeat all enemies to continue, but in case you missed it, there are 3 Wutai troops positioned up on the ramparts, completely out of melee range. Without magic, we have no way of inflicting any damage on them. Could this be the end of the run already? Well, we try saving Angeal's rush assault limit break in the hopes that it might be able to damage them from afar and continue taking down the ground troops. These sergeant ones are particularly tanky. I mean, look at this, it's ridiculous. We approach the rampart soldiers, which we're told are out of attack range, but as we get close, 2 of them just flee. Nice. 1 left and, oh, he's gone too. Whew, job done. Inside the fort, we're introduced to these Foulander enemies, which are the first magic users we've encountered so far, but they're easy enough, especially if you get behind them for the bonus critical damage, so we quickly arrive at the next boss encounter, or rather bosses encounter, against Vajradhara Wu and Vajradhara Tai. Wu goes straight for his special ability, Twin Tomahawk, but we somehow manage to get it down to 25% power before it pops off. Both of these guys are strong physical damage dealers and should not be underestimated, especially on hard mode, so we try to stay agile while focusing down a single target. We don't have to be too fearful right now though, because enemies can't outright one-shot us. Yet. So potions are enough to keep us topped up. Wu falls after just 2 minutes, dropping an HP up materia that we obviously can't use. Oh yeah, thanks for that. With only Tai remaining, we can more confidently push the offensive until the roulette lands on Angeal and we can finish it off with a level 2 rush assault. After being conveniently gifted an accessory that will help with the next boss, we're up against the game's first summon boss, Ifrit. As with most bosses going forward, it's important to quickly learn and start responding to its diverse moveset. But anyone who's played this game before knows that the difficulty level is definitely a curve, with the first few chapters being pitifully easy, while late game bosses are insanely strong. Therefore, despite this being a whopping 6-minute slog, it finally goes down to an Octaslash. Interestingly, summon bosses are shown to drop their corresponding materia during story cutscenes, but you don't actually obtain the materia until you do the rematches with them in the side quests. Not that we'll be using any of them anyway, oh no. because Zack's animation clearly shows materia being used, and therefore these summons are banned. All other summons like Cactua and Chocobo use non-materia items to be summoned and are therefore fair game.
Hello there.
Anyway, it's time for chapter 2. As with most chapters, there's a short interlude before the proper story content begins, and we can use this time to get some optional side missions done. For brevity's sake, I won't be showing a lot of side mission footage because they're kinda repetitive corridor simulators designed for farming items and SP, but we do complete most of them as soon as they become available. For difficult battles, like against these bloody Tonberries, the best strategy is to go in for just 1 or 2 slashes at a time to bait their attacks and kite them to the edges of the arena so we can keep a safe distance. The only one we had any major issue with was this Vajradhara Kala, whose basic attacks are strong while we're barely scratching the thing. Then it fires up its special for massive damage, easily wiping us out in one hit. Yeah, let's leave that one for now. Okay, it's story time. Zack's been sent to the tranquil village of Benora, and after somehow slicing some tank shells clean in half, we're up against the guard spider boss. The trick is to avoid its powerful frontal attacks and prioritise attacking its rear for the critical damage bonus while watching out for its close range EM field ability. Just under a minute later, and Zack's using his best dance moves to call in an airstrike, finishing it off. Wow, a whopping 1 experience point, I'm so happy! After taking out some G assassins in the warehouse, we meet this game's main antagonist, Genesis, who talks like he's just swallowed a Shakespearean sonnet.
Ripples form on the water's surface. The wandering soul knows no rest.
What the hell?
It's a race against time as we protect Benora from 10 arthritis-ridden bullet bills and grab all the shiny shinies before finding Angeal's mother dead on the floor. Oh no! No one seems to really care though, and we just get randomly thrown into this Bahamut fight because, reasons. How do these summon fights make sense exactly? I've almost felt like the devs really wanted to include epic boss battles but just didn't know how to implement them, so they just arbitrarily threw them in at random points in the game. Or maybe I'm just completely misunderstanding their entire significance. Help me out here, guys. Like, why do these summons exist? Bahamut has some undodgeable attacks that we're forced to guard, and it likes to occasionally go out of attack range, but it's pretty straightforward, so we just grab our thumbnail and head on our merry way. Chapter 3, and even basic enemies are now posing quite a challenge. We gain the ability to hold up to 6 materia and be able to fuse them. I'm sure that will come in handy. But we can now permanently delete materia in exchange for SP, so bye bye weird glass ball thingies. Before long, the Shinra building is under attack. Oh no! These red saucers are just cannon fodder, but the mechs and G-Avengers do offer more of a challenge, especially when fought in waves. We soon encounter Cisne and unlock her limit break lucky stars, which turns all of our attacks into criticals for a limited time. I feel like this will be super helpful as the run continues. The next boss, Gia Razor, is also fought here in Loveless Avenue. I find it hilarious how this guy just keeps one hand in his pocket for most of the fight. We roll an insta-KO Zantetsuken, but obviously we can't use it because summon materia are banned by the rules. So Gia Razor goes for its special Scorcher, but we get it down to 25% power, so it's all fine. We push the offensive after rolling a level 3 lucky stars and soon erase our opponent. GG. We're now at Mako Reactor 5 and have clocked in 5.5 hours of game time. These Sahagin can be annoying because they're practically undodgeable jump attacks, so we're forced to carefully time our guards. What's a bigger problem though are these Araman enemies who constantly stay flying out of attack range, and we can't flee because we're getting battered. We're trapped here, what can we do? Well, it's Angeal to the rescue as our limit break deals massive damage, wiping out the entire mob in one hit. Level 20. Nice. After more story time with Sephiroth, we're told to chase down this Hollander guy while random mobs continue to pop up and get in our way. Just sort off, will you? And when we do finally catch up to him, he sets these 3 boss mechs onto us. The strategy is to go for the missile-wielding one first, purely because it has the potential to deal the most damage at the furthest range, and often unpredictably, whereas the other two are manageable so long as we keep our distance. We've rolled invincible, so go all out until it wears off, but this is when we start getting stun-locked by rogue missiles, and honestly our positioning isn't very good. Despite the Pile Machine's aggressive flanks, we roll a null physical, which gives us just enough time to take out the first bot. Rush Assault is strong, but we get poisoned while battering down the second bot, which is a status ailment that does not wear off, and I kind of forgot to use a remedy. Oops. Still, the fight against the final Cutter Machine is slow because of its high defences, but it's pretty straightforward and it eventually goes down. Overall, the fight took a little under 3 minutes, and that's another chapter in the bag. After meeting Aerith, we spent some time obtaining some actually usable summons, like getting Cactus Thorn for Cactuar, Mog's Amulet for Moogle, which is quite frankly shockingly bad, and Tonburi's Knife for, well, Tonburi. A reminder that unlike Ifrit and Bahamut, these particular summons do not require any materia and are therefore fair game by the rules. It just gives us more options on the gacha machine. Anyway, back to the slums. Here we have to slice up 3 human-sized worms for a wallet, count drips of perfume, hang out with the locals, gain the trust of some random kid who I won't go into detail about because we don't talk about Bruno, and take the highway back to the Shinra building. These G-assailants are agile but only moderately tanky, so not a big deal. But these moth slashers, whoa, they are beefy! It takes a surprisingly long time to make it back to HQ, where we defeat Hojo's experiments yet fail to obtain any of their keys since we're not allowed to equip steel, before being thrown into yet another arbitrary summon fight, this time against Bahamut 2 Electric Boogaloo. This thing has a massive health pool, very strong attacks, and it never turns its back to us, meaning critical attacks are basically off the menu. We hit level 22 and it's clear that we need to prioritise guarding over evading, mainly because Bahamut Fury's attacks are all AoE and almost impossible to dodge. It prepares its special Exaflare, which we chip down to 25% power, but it blasts us for massive damage! Yeah, good job we didn't need that MP or AP, eh? We roll the null magic, but it just keeps knocking us back. We're damn persistent though, and shortly after its second Exaflare, we push the offensive and hit the final slash as it charges up its cluster sphere. Job done. Chapter 5 is where the difficulty level of this run seriously ramps up. Things start out nice and, chilled, and most enemies seem manageable as we push our way towards Modioheim's Mako excavation facility. But once inside, oh boy, even basic enemies like this G-Smasher are now posing a huge challenge, with this guy's fire magics being able to almost one-shot us, and this is just a basic mob from a random encounter. What on earth is the boss going to be like? Well, let's find out. Genesis here kicks things off with a Black Flurry that completely shuts down our gambling addiction, and we continue to circle around him to dodge his dark energies, but his melee combos catch us out for huge damage, and his borderline undodgeable black feathers inflict poison, putting us at a serious disadvantage. We use a remedy to cleanse ourselves, but he goes on the defensive, making himself immune to physical strikes. Cloud's Limit Break does help a bit, but Ifrit is obviously banned by the rules. We're just getting battered, and it's really difficult to find openings to press the attack. 6 minutes later, and yep, one shot from max health. Ouch. Our second attempt begins in pretty much the same way, but we're now a lot more knowledgeable about his moveset so we can respond more efficiently. After 5 minutes of dancing around, we're fighting at close range and he's throwing everything he can at us. Come on. Yes, nice. That was definitely the toughest boss fight so far, but oh, just wait because we'll soon discover that we've barely scratched the surface of boss difficulty. Oh. Case in point, this random Griffin mini-boss fought in the Modioheim bathhouse a few minutes later. Not only can it stun-lock you with attacks deleting more than half of our health bar, but it has an undodgeable drain ability that finished us off more than a few times. After so many attempts, we were finally able to luckily roll a level 5 rush assault to finish the thing off. Damn, this game is stressful. Oh! But nothing so far has been anywhere close to as stressful as this next boss, Angeal Penance. Not only does this boss mark the end of the chapter, but we also unlock something amazing afterwards, which should make this run a hell of a lot easier. Wait, what? Yep, one shot by its bum laser. Lovely. Second attempt, and it starts by highly raising its physical defense while throwing various crap at us, charging us down and swiping its trident thingy to wipe us out. Ugh. Third attempt, and our damage output is super low, but... yep, bum lizard again. Clearly we're far too weak to beat this guy, so there's only one thing for it. We need to grind some more. Most side quests are very quick and easy. We just cling to the walls to drastically reduce the encounter rate. Honestly, you can get through 90% of side quests without a single random mob by doing this, but it just looks ridiculous. We do have quite a bit of trouble with the Araman double gargoyle mob in 725, but persistence does eventually pay off. That's one backpack in the bag. Well, you know what I mean. Armed with the ability to now equip 4 accessories, we focus on keeping our attack and vitality stats high before going in to fight Angeal Penance once again. The outcome, well... It's back to grinding even more until we hit level 30. By this point we've been grinding literally all day, so let's just hope things go better this time. First attempt, and things are looking good as we've managed to knock him down to about a quarter HP, but sadly his defences are still high. He goes for his special and... 100% power. GG. Second attempt, ye old bum laser. Third attempt. We use Aerith's healing wave early for the invincibility passive so we can push the offensive, but until its barrier goes down we're barely scratching the thing. We try to stay behind it but slightly off to the side, which allows us to hit criticals without being in direct firing line of his electrical discharges. We save limit breaks for his specials, and several minutes later we're hitting hard against his magical barrier and he's so low, but he puts up another physical barrier. Just gotta keep slashing. We eventually roll Angeal, but can he defeat himself? Come on. Yes! Oh, damn, that thing was tough. As always, if you'd like to see the full unedited boss fight footage, then I'll upload it on the Patreon, link in the description below. Another huge thank you to all of these fine folks who are already supporting the channel. Really appreciate all of you. Zack has definitely earned himself a nice holiday. Shame we get ganked by some divers, but we just whack him down with a brolly and push on to Junon. You remember I mentioned something amazing that we'd get after beating Angeal? Well, here it is, the Buster Sword. Oh yes, using this thing's battle stance gives us a guarding effect and allows us to use a strong 2/ combo that inflicts knockback. The more we use this stance, the higher our proficiency. If we can get it above 23%, we can use the stance to break the damage cap, and if we make it past 47%, we can break through barriers. Sadly, there is a cap to how much proficiency you can earn per battle, but it's nice to keep things ticking up as we go along. The next mandatory boss is an absolute tank, and is accompanied by these flying support bots, which... Whoa, I did not see that one coming. Like other mech-style enemies in this game, this thing has high frontal damage output, but it's borderline pathetic if we just keep attacking it from behind. Even its special ability doesn't even inflict any damage, it just spews out more of these support droids. It takes about 4 minutes to take the thing down. Surprisingly, that tank was way more difficult than this chapter's final boss, Prototype Guard Scorpion, which was an absolute cakewalk and fell within just a couple of minutes. Chapter 7 has absolutely no combat. Just gather materials to make a flower wagon for Aerith, speak to some people at Shinra HQ, and GG. On to Chapter 8. Nice. We've arrived at possibly the most famous town in all of Final Fantasy, Nibelheim, where a cowgirl Tifa escorts the group up to the reactor. After some spoilery events with Sephiroth, we're forced to take on this mob of 2 G Legions and a G Deleter. On our first attempt, the Deleter lives up to his name with an undodgeable drain spell. We live and learn though, so on the second attempt we make sure we keep our health topped up at all times while trying to repeatedly stun lock the Deleter, and it pays off. Time for a slow walk back down the mountain, but wait, WTF Sephiroth, what have you done? Time to face off against the man himself in what has got to be one of the most challenging fights in the entire game, especially when playing close quarters, because Sephiroth is the master of close range combat. He moves slowly, waiting for you to make a move, only to counter it with his own lightning fast slashes. Not only can he also teleport, but his powerful draw slash ability has a massive reach over a 180 degree area. Within just 2 minutes we fall to an Octaslash. We try the fight on repeat for over an hour, even getting as far as this phase where he starts spawning in extra materia crystals, but it's just not happening. There's only one thing for it. We need to grind some more. We fight our way through lots more side quests, some of which are easy and some of which are just impossible. We do, however, eventually come across this gem, 1042, where dozens of these weak worm thingies just keep spawning in, giving massive amounts of SP and gil. Nice! Having a piece of equipment that nullifies stop is helpful because it means that their immobilizing web skill is completely useless and Zack can keep on slashing away. We're back at a staggering level 43, armed with decent stat enhancing gear, including a dragon armlet that halves incoming elemental damage. Let's do this. Sephiroth kicks things off with his usual draw slash, which we can easily avoid, and we roll a Phoenix summon, which again we're not allowed to use. This first part of the fight is relatively easy, just bait out his combos and never go in for more than a couple of slashes at a time. 3 minutes into the fight and he uses Heartless Angel, reducing our HP to 1 before summoning his first round of pets. We get battered here, but somehow cling on to life. I wasn't sure whether to exclusively target Sephiroth or to take out the crystals first, but eventually decided on the latter because it seems like the safer option. It took over 5 minutes to take down the fire materia, and a few minutes later he goes in for a 100% Octaslash for the kill. But thankfully we still had a Phoenix Downs effect up, so the fight continues. 5 minutes after the fire materia fell, the ice materia follows suit and we can turn our attention back to Sephiroth, who is now comfortably below half HP. A whopping 15 minutes into the fight, my fingers are starting to seriously ache, but he's not letting up. Another Heartless Angel, another dual materia summon. This support materia needs to go down fast because it can heal Sephiroth, and anyone who watched our previous challenge run of FF10 knows exactly how I feel about bosses that can heal themselves. Strangely enough though, a simple rush assault is all it takes to clear both of the new materia out of there, and Sephiroth's down to, what, like 15-20% health? We push the offensive, but as he gets critically low, he resummons all 4 materia, including the healing one. Ah, sod it, we just need to kill him quick. Come on. Yes! Haha! I was actually shaking with joy. Oh, what an overwhelming sense of relief. But we're not done yet, oh no. The gimmick for the second half of the fight is that we're trapped on a narrow platform with Sephiroth pushing towards us, and if we get knocked all the way back, we fall to our death. This basically acts like a DPS check, which is bad news because our damage output is super low. Almost 2 hours. That's how long we were trying this fight for, on repeat. Even if we're lucky enough to roll invincibility or null physical, Sephiroth just keeps pushing. We're barely getting him past half HP before he knocks us off the edge. But regular viewers will know that I'm a stubborn git and don't give up easily, so after God knows how many attempts, we finally had this run. We stick to the far right side, forcing Sephiroth to angle himself slightly, giving us a tiny advantage. We have a mediocre start as we do get thrown back once, but our guard timing is pretty good, as are our battle stance strong attacks which do stagger him just a tiny bit. We portion up his Heartless Angel, but he does get a couple of good combos in before null physical activates. We can be a little bit more aggressive now, but as you can see, the edge of the platform is right behind us. We're running out of room here, and he's still got a decent chunk of health left. That's when we get insanely lucky, as he activates his special just as we slam down with the Battle Stance's second strong attack, resulting in a 25% Octoslash that we can survive. We roll Phoenix as he goes for the final Heartless Angel, but our Battle Stance spamming seals the deal. That was definitely one of the toughest fights we've ever done on this channel. Whew. After leaving unconscious Cloud against a wall, we run 100 meters ahead before going back to pick him up for some reason. Weird. But after beating up some Shinra troops and playing a bit of Call of Duty... Right, look, I was never very good at first-person shooters, okay? Leave me alone. Leave me alone. We ride a badass motorbike out of there and encounter this G Eliminator on a bridge. Our first attempt of fighting it went pretty badly as we got one-shot by its special Stranglehold. But on the second attempt, the thing ran out of MP after just a few minutes, so we could eventually finish it off with Angeal's Rush Assault. We've now arrived in Gongaga, where we're forced to go up against this painful duo. Attempt number 1, and okay, that wasn't too bad. Maybe we can... Oh, never mind. Attempt number 2, and we get stunned, shot, slashed, and probably teabagged. We go away to do more side quests, including this 100 Shinra troops that people online say is great for leveling, but honestly, I think I prefer those beach worms from earlier. These troops come in waves with an annoying pause between each wave, and they just don't offer as much SP and gil. It's also pretty repetitive, whereas fighting the worms is quite relaxing and makes you feel like a badass, so I'd always recommend doing that instead. Anyway, the Gongaga duo is a bit easier now, we just have to keep dodging the G-Slayer's Gunblade skill and take him out first. Then his scythe-wielding buddy can easily fall just a couple of minutes later. The next actual boss is Hollander here. Despite this being a bit of a cheesy joke boss, it was actually really difficult. He infinitely spawns in groups of worms, has a wide-ranging deadly breath attack that shuts down the Gamba, and sometimes he'll just smack you in the face with his bag. Add in all of the gravity magics from the worms, as well as the tiny arena that's built on a slope, and this fight is an absolute nightmare. Hollander also has a ton of health, meaning each attempt at this fight takes over 20 minutes. Things were going well until his special dimension missile just one-shot us out of nowhere. Ouch. It's back to farming worms until we hit a whopping level 50. For context, in a normal playthrough, you'll probably finish the entire game at around level 40 to 45, depending on how much side content you do. For equipment, we've gone for an attack boost, 2 HP boosts, and a curse prevention accessory that also boosts our spirit, aka magic defense. Not only are we much stronger now, but our higher HP and defenses mean that we can safely push the offensive more often. After just 5 minutes, he's super low, but he's charging up his special. Oh, damn. Second attempt, and things go much smoother this time around. Despite him trying to cower amongst some barrels towards the end, he's down in just 6 minutes. Nice. That means that there's only one chapter left to go. The short yet difficult chapter 10. The final boss door is guarded by this annoying G-Regicide who, yeah, can you see the problem here? It's just as annoying as the Hollander fight, but with a much higher damage output, including elemental abilities. Needless to say, we get absolutely obliterated. There's only one thing for it. We need to more some grind. I was going to do the one where you have to kill 1,000 of these guys, but since I don't want to die of old age halfway through the run, I just stick with the 200 instead. Still want to die afterwards though. And we're back. We're level 52 and have gone for HP boosting bangles as well as armlets that absorb fire and electricity. With this setup we should be relatively safe, we just have to watch out for its claw attack ability as well as its special. The fight was like a delicate dance, a very slow 12-minute dance, but it finally went down, unlocking the path to the final boss, Genesis. Should we go in straight away? Nah, you know what, sure, let's test the waters here. Best case scenario is a quick and easy win, unlikely. Worst case scenario is that we can at least see approximately how much more powerful we'll need to be in order to have a chance. Alright, let's do it. Genesis Avatar has a whopping 950,000 health and is completely out of attack range, meaning our only method of reliably damaging the thing is to wait for it to stab its Materia sword down into the life stream and get some hits in before the summoned enemies start attacking us. Each stab of the sword summons a fresh batch of 4 enemies who have a lot of HP and resistances, and as we later discover, any enemy that you defeat just gets replenished during later stabs, meaning there are infinite opponents spawning in here. And to make matters even worse, in between each stab, the Avatar uses Shadow Flare, a powerful multi-hitting gravity-like magic which is almost impossible to dodge. Despite the huge arena, our damage output is still way too low for this. It's just death after death after death. We tried grinding to level 55 and buying a wizard bracelet, which slightly boosts our defences while fully absorbing all elemental magics. With these shiny new upgrades, I expect the fight to go much smoother, but honestly, it barely made any difference. I'll admit it, I did consider giving up at this point, as shameful as it would be to throw in the towel at the final boss, but until we're at max level I cannot rest. There's always a chance that this is a winnable fight at a higher level. After another 10 hours of grinding, we're back at level 69. We're rocking a black belt for the attack and physical defense buffs, protect ring for magical defense and both barriers which halve all incoming damage, Zydric for giving massive stat buffs and halving incoming elemental damage, and Genji glove to keep us hitting criticals. Come on everyone, we got this! The fight begins and our newfound power is immediately obvious. We're dealing massive damage with each blow, inflicting more damage in a single minute than we managed to dish out in an entire battle last time. We have to be careful though, because our HP is still relatively low, so we're kinda like a glass cannon here. We keep attacking the adds during the downtime between each sword stab, then go all out whenever the thing comes down. We use lucky stars even though we've already got constant criticals, so it's kinda useless, and we get him below half HP. The problem is that he's now charging up his special and we have no way of reducing its power because he's out of attack range. We can do nothing but just stand there as the purgatorial wave comes down on us, but with barriers up the damage is halved and we're still standing. Just a couple of stabs later and Genesis Avatar is out of there. Wow, that took less than 4 minutes, very nice. Genesis himself is super weak in phase 2 and falls in under a single minute. All that's left is to try to fight off endless waves of Shinra soldiers until the slot machine shuts down and we IRL curl up in a corner to have a little cry. Can you beat crisiscore without Materia on hard mode? Yes you can, but I wouldn't recommend it. I hope you enjoy coming along for the ride. See you later everyone. Cheers. Minigame time! In our last challenge run, Can ChatGPT beat Final Fantasy X, I hid some Sephiroth references in the video and it's time to reveal all of them. If you haven't watched that video yet and want to play along, just click here and then come back once you're done. The first was at the 128 mark, where we had Sephiroth's famous one-winged angel theme open in another tab. Then at 12:45, this Al Bhed phrase literally translates to "This is a Sephiroth reference." Haha, pretty on the nose. The third was very missable though. While in Besaid Village at 14:26, you can briefly see Sephiroth's wing, though you may have been too distracted thinking about species of penguin. At 26:41, Lulu briefly wears the Sephiroth cosplay wig, while at 27:10 we can see Sephiroth's badly animated sword laying on the floor of the Guado Salam banquet. Finally, during the final battle at 51:53, you can see and hear Nibelheim burning. That means there were actually 6 references in total, but how many did you manage to find? See you in the next one.